Hello, my name is Sandra Jones-Keller, and I'm an intuitive pregnancy coach and spiritual energy healer, and I am here with Dr. Darnita Henry. Hello.
Hello.
So we're talking today. I invited Darnita to talk with me because last year she had a miscarriage, and I've been getting a lot of women coming to me for coaching who have had miscarriages. And I want to bring a different perspective to this so that you guys can have a healing and have peace and start looking at miscarriages differently. I'm an intuitive pregnancy coach, so for me, pregnancy is about more than just biology. Pregnancy is a spiritual agreement between mom, dad, and the baby. So the baby actually has a choice in if they're going to incarnate, in what they want to do, when they want to incarnate. So yes, the fetus is the baby in your belly, but what animates it and gives it life is the spirit. So Darnita, just kind of tell us what happened last year.
So last year I was pregnant and had made it along to about 12 weeks and noticed that I had some cramping going on, and was on my way to the office and got to the office and just I got out of the car and noticed that I had started having some bleeding. So at that point, I knew that that was not normal. So I pretty much kind of figured that, this wasn't a good sign.
Yeah. Okay, so let's kind of back up. So at about 6 weeks, you and I did an energy healing session. And this one was very different from the one we had done with your youngest daughter, Mariah. So Mariah is how old now?
Mariah is 2 and she'll be 3 in a week.
Already. So yeah. I remember I was in town and we got together and did some energy work. And so I was feeling, energetically feeling you. And every time I got to your belly, it was like, wow, your belly is just like really hot. It's like you're on fire. And at that point, you didn't even know you were pregnant. And then with your last pregnancy.
No, I had no idea.
Yeah. And then with your last pregnancy, I remember I was doing an energy healing and it felt cold. And we were actually on the phone this time, but whenever I felt around your belly, it felt cold. So what was your experience during that session? And how was it different?
So that session was a little bit different just because all the other pregnancies I've had were, I found out I was pregnant and that was just basically it. Went through the pregnancy and had the baby. So this time I was kind of thinking, well, first of all, Sandra was spot on last time with telling me that I was pregnant and I had no idea. So, I was kind of alert to the chance that the baby, because what you said was the baby was making a choice. The baby had was deciding between our family and possibly another family. And so you said that the baby was making a choice and the baby would decide. And you actually told me to stop taking the pregnancy test because I told you what they keep getting positive, like the longer I go, like they keep getting more positive quicker, faster, which just means that the hormone is growing in your body, the pregnancy hormone. So I stopped taking all the tests, but I kept on going, feeling fine just because, every week I was like, well, the baby's, it feels like, well, the baby must be deciding to stay, right? Because we talked around week 5 or week 6, and then week 7, there's still, still pregnancy, week 8, week 9, week 10. So definitely by week 12, I was like, we are pretty much, baby must have made a decision. Baby decided to stay.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm actually going to share my screen. And I remember I sent this to you. So when I did the energy healing, this is what it looked like energetically for me. I get pictures, I hear things. But I remember drawing out this graph and what it looked like. It looked kind of like a pizza or a big pie. And your energy was Mariah is your youngest, Mason is your second youngest, Maddie is your oldest. How old is Maddie?
Maddie is 15.
So Maddie's 15.
Mason yes. Mason is almost 7. On Sunday, he'll be 7.
Okay. And so your 3 kids, your husband, and then I have miscellaneous here, you and work. So when I looked at you energetically, that's how your energy was kind of divided. But then when I looked at the baby, so then the new baby had its own pie chart, its own space here. So it was just really interesting to look at it in that way. Like over here, your energy was evenly divided, and then this new baby was just going to be taking up everything. So do you remember that? And what did we talk about that any more than?
Right.
What did we say about that?
Yeah. Well, you said you didn't know how that may manifest or how that may show up, but that that this baby decided that it needed probably more than what I actually had available at the time, and I had the tendency to try to put it all together, try to put it all in there, and and just figure it out. And I think part of your advice was don't try to figure it out. Don't try to, this baby doesn't want to fit in this pie. This baby wants to be its own pie. This baby is its own pie. Yeah. So, I kind of felt that maybe, maybe our family was not quite where this baby decided it was going to want to be, because it was going to have to, come into fitting into this.
Yeah. And so that's really a key point that you're making. So, like I said, when we talk about pregnancy in the past, when people think about pregnancy, it's like, oh, I want to have this baby. And, it's purely about biology without considering all the spiritual aspects involved, all the agreements. And even your kids or the family is like all in on it, because I've done other readings of women who've had miscarriages, and like the kids weren't even on board at the time, and this baby did not want to deal with coming into an environment where it wasn't 100% wanted. And I'm not saying that's with you. So there's a lot of things that are happening in the invisible realm that I really want women to start to be aware of, so that the guilt and the feeling of you did something wrong, or if I had done this better or differently, this baby would have stayed. So after you had the miscarriage, we did some more energy work, and I suggested that you communicate with the baby so that you could have completion and peace. So what was that like for you?
So once I did that, the baby spoke to me, and the baby said, I'm going to try to quote it. The baby said, "Mommy, I'm fine." The baby said, "I'm fine. Daddy's fine. Everybody's fine. And that we're all well taken care of. We just need you to take care of yourself. You try to take care of everybody else, but we need you to take care of yourself." So, I got that message, and I've gotten that message before, but I've really kind of got it much clearer with this situation. And so even to this day, every Wednesday, I do Wellness Wednesday. So I take each Wednesday and do something that I dedicate to my own personal health and wellness. So, whether that is, sometimes it's just sleeping. Sometimes it's just getting the rest that I need, that I deserve. Sometimes it's gardening. Sometimes today it was yoga and walking the track. But it's definitely something that brings me back to what's important and keeps me focused on where I'm going in life. So I really feel like that was the baby's job. That was that spirit's job, was to tell me that it's okay, because I did not know, seriously within myself, I did not know it was okay to be still and to be quiet and to just take care of myself. I had no idea that was okay. It always seems like you're supposed to be taking care of someone else. And as women, we do that a lot. We take care of others a lot. And we don't take the time and the energy and invest it in ourselves. So I do think that that was, for me, a very important lesson. And I feel like it's funny because I got it from the smallest being that I probably possibly could ever get that from. But I clearly heard the baby say that. Then another thing that happened later on that I felt like was kind of a part of what you had already said about getting quiet. Because after the miscarriage, I had not a lot of noise in the house, but a lot of people taking care of me, which was fine because, this was a family thing. So there was a lot of taking care of me and, making sure that I ate and all these things. But I personally didn't know that it was okay to have emotions about it. I kept telling myself, well, you're married and you have other children, other beautiful children, so you should not feel, you don't get to feel upset about this. You don't get to be upset about this. You don't get to have feelings about this because you're already so blessed. But in November, I happened to be on a Facebook group with some other moms, and there was a mom that stated how she felt, how she was feeling. How do you get over the feeling of loss and grief and everything once you have a miscarriage? And again, still feeling like, I don't really get to be sad. I said, I understand. I just made a comment about how I understood because I had been through that. Then another mom who was one of my classmates years and years ago made a statement. She's in a similar situation. She has 2 boys already. She's married, but had a miscarriage within the last year or so. And it was her words that made me feel like it was okay. And at that point, I happened to be all the way by myself in Cabo, Mexico, in the room, and I cried and I cried and I cried and I talked to that baby and I cried some more. And when I finished, I woke up and I was happy. I felt like I had gotten it all the way out, that it was definitely okay to have whatever emotion that you have about it. And I still talk to the baby now. I still talk to the baby and I still thank the baby for kind of getting me together and making sure that, I live the life on earth that I agreed to live, that I must have agreed that I was going to grow while I'm here. And this is a part of my growth.
So if you were to give just a couple pieces of advice to women who have had miscarriages, what would you say? Like how to find peace and completion. What would you say?
I would definitely say to follow the advice that you gave me about communicating. Of course, communicating when you're pregnant with the baby, but if the baby decides not to stay, communicate with the baby at that point. Have the conversation with the baby about, maybe decide to leave, and listen for the reason. Listen out for that and take heed to that, because sometimes, it not sometimes, all the time, it's probably it's a lesson to be learned in there, and some advice that you can get from that realm. And then also right around the time that I miscarried, I had a friend who had multiple miscarriages, and she was pregnant at the same time, and she ended up delivering a beautiful baby around the same time that I would have delivered that baby. This was her first viable pregnancy all the way through. So it can happen, and it does happen. So my advice would just to probably go within and try to see what messages you get from that.
Okay, that's powerful. And I would say also be gentle and loving with yourself, and do some kind of ceremony for completion, whatever that is. If you want to do it by yourself, if you want to do it with your family or even your extended family, but do some kind of ceremony honoring all of it, and so that you can get back to peace, because these miscarriages are not about you suffering, and suffering for months and years. It's not about that. There's, like Darnita said, there's a lesson to be learned. You have your healing, you have your completion. The spirit is still, out there. And then you want to be complete and move on so that, like Darnita said, you can live your life fully. Any last minute things you'd like to add?
I don't think so. I think that I just want to say that really having you around has been invaluable for me, just because I know that I can talk to you, and the times that we have spoken, whether my energy is calm or whether it's not, you always say, well, you know what, let's tackle that. Let's get that together and let's figure it out. And then I'm always left feeling more empowered, feeling more at ease, and like I can, because it's a lot of emotion around, living life every day, and then around pregnancy and around birth and around a lot, and even raising children.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's a lot of emotions around that. So it's so important that we focus on ourselves to do what we need to do to give ourselves what we need in order to do what we need to do. So I think that part of being gentle, like you said, being gentle with yourself and really honoring your spirit is so, so, so important.
Awesome. Please visit my website. I've got a couple of great blogs on there. Miscarriage, the baby changed its mind, spiritual keys to getting pregnant. And Dr. Darnita Henry is a chiropractor in the Atlanta area, specializing in pregnancy, women's health. Give them your contact information.
Okay, our website is www.alignwellnesscenter.com. That's ALIGNWELLNESS Center, CENTER.com. And you can follow us. I'm Dr. Mom Baby. So I do have a lot of tips and helpful hints about living your best life and being your very first doctor, because that's an important thing. Is you are your very first doctor and your family's very first doctor.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Darnita, for joining us, and we will talk again soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.